I've lost to you 100 times. One more defeat won't change anything. But not today. Today, I'm gonna win. What's up, Bakas? It's your boy Nihilite, and welcome to my Lookism explanation series. In this series, I'll be diving into the complete stories of all my favorite Lookism characters. This includes their appearances, personalities, backstories, role in the story, and fighting styles. And today, I'll be discussing the Iron Boxer, Zack Lee. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. With a lean yet muscular build honed from years of boxing training, Zack has the perfect example of an athlete's physique. Strong, agile, and ready. His features include dark black hair, thin eyebrows, and a piercing stare. Early in the series, Zack kept his hair slicked back, but as he has grown and changed, so has his style. Currently, he sports a modern comma cut with a fringe swooping across the right side of his face. Another notable physical feature he possesses is the striking blue line tattooed across his torso, which is a battle scar from his brutal encounter with the gangster Chang Choi. Zack's wardrobe is always up to date with the latest fashion trends, which is no surprise given he's in his school's fashion department. He is consistently decked out from head to toe in luxurious and expensive brands. Some of his most iconic pieces include the green crewneck sweater and orange tinted glasses that he inherited from his mentor, Gong Seop Ji. As a child, Zack was quick to anger but also inherently kind. He was energetic and brash but always looked out for his friends. This dual nature followed him into high school, where his less admirable traits initially took center stage. After stepping away from boxing, Zack lost his sense of direction, which led him down a path of aggression and bullying. However, as he befriends Daniel and the rest of his classmates, Zack's journey of personal growth gains momentum. His inherent kindness begins to resurface, leading him to defend those he once might have targeted. This evolution accelerates when he rededicates himself to boxing, vowing to use his fists for protection rather than bullying. A defining aspect of Zack's personality, especially in the series' early stages, is his deep and enduring affection for Mira Kim. He is extremely devoted to Mira, following her every wish and striving to protect her. It was thanks to Mira that Zack began to temper his aggression and empathize more with others. But despite his growth, Zack's journey is marred by severe bouts of depression and feelings of inferiority stemming from the high expectations set during his childhood as a boxing prodigy. Constantly outclassed by more talented peers, he struggled with self-doubt and depression, continually seeking ways to reinvent himself, only to face more failures. This cycle of despair persisted until his training with his master, Gong Seop Ji. Under his master's guidance, Zack underwent a profound change. He emerged not only as a more skilled boxer, but as someone freed from the negative thoughts that once shackled him. Now calm and confident in his abilities, he stands as a man unburdened by past insecurities, a true embodiment of freedom and self-acceptance. From his earliest days, Zack's life orbited around Mira Kim. Captivated by her, he eagerly participated in any activity she showed interest in. Yet, among all these activities, boxing was by far his favorite. For Zack, boxing became his avenue to stand as Mira's protector, a role he fully embraced. His love for Mira was so strong that he even attended Sunday church in order to be around her. It was at church that the two befriended Johan Song, a kind boy who was unfortunately dealt with bad circumstances in life. Johan's mother was a kind lady who offered haircuts to the neighborhood kids, but was blighted with a disease that caused her to gradually lose her eyesight. As the trio grew older, Zack continued to dedicate himself to boxing, earning praise as a child prodigy. By the time they got to middle school, Zack became known as the strongest kid around and was not to be messed with. While on the other hand, Johan was seen as an easy victim because of his meek demeanor and poor upbringing. One day, after witnessing Johan being assaulted, Zack stepped in and quickly defeated the bullies. But despite his good intentions, this act was even more embarrassing for Johan and caused a drift in their friendship. One day, Johan's mother was invited to a religious retreat and was accompanied by their church's preacher as well as all three teens. All three teens had different reasons for attending, with Johan wanting to watch over his mother, Mira wanting to rekindle their friendship, and Zack wanting to spend time with Mira. However, they quickly discovered that this religious retreat wasn't all that it seemed. After the trio were separated from the adults, Johan told Zack that this was actually the campgrounds for a religious cult. This sent Zack into a blinding rage because Mira was now endangered. Zack and Johan then went on to rescue a reporter who was held captive after trying to expose the truth behind the religious cult. After meeting up with Mira and the preacher, the group made plans to escape in hopes of returning for Johan's mother at a later time. But before they could escape, they were betrayed by the preacher who they had known since they were kids after the villain revealed himself to be the cult leader. The reporter was able to escape, but the 3 children were captured and caged. Later that night, Johan's mother attempted to free them despite her mental instability. But the rescue mission failed, resulting in Johan's mother also being captured. In their moment of despair, it wasn't the strong Zack that ended up saving them, but it was actually Johan. Johan was able to successfully break free of his rope and used a boxing stance similar to Zack to defend his mother from being stoned. It is revealed that Johan is a copying genius and that he was able to replicate Zack's moves after only seeing it once as children. This has been a scene that has stood with Zack after all of these years and has been a motivating factor in him getting stronger. The long night eventually ended when the police came, thanks to the reporter they freed earlier. After the incident, Zack didn't see Johan for a full year, not until he met him in the finals of the National Youth Boxing Competition. Despite acknowledging Johan's talent, Zack was confident that his hard work had allowed him to surpass the genius. But unfortunately, even with his hard work, Zack was easily outclassed by Johan. This crushing loss is what made Zack quit boxing and set him upon a path of bullying. He found it easier to use his boxing to impress those weaker around him than to continue to train. When Zack first meets Daniel, we see him at his worst, rude, violent, and quick to judge. However, as time passes and he befriends Daniel and his other classmates, we see Zack evolve into a more compassionate and thoughtful individual. He becomes increasingly remorseful about his past actions and actively seeks redemption by helping those in need. We see this when Zack goes out of his way to help Jiho Park and when he makes it his mission to rescue Jasmine. One of Zack's central goals in the series is to rescue Johan from the dark path he has taken and reunite him with his mother. This mission, however, is full of setbacks and defeats. Despite his intense training and determination, Zack constantly finds himself outclassed by peers with seemingly unsurmountable talents. These continuous defeats sent him into a spiral of depression and self-doubt, leading him to label himself as a loser. These internal struggles are mirrored in his fighting style. Over time, Zack began to discard his pride as a boxer and resorted to using dirty boxing and weapons in a desperate attempt to gain the upper hand. Yet, even these drastic measures weren't enough. It isn't until he meets his master, Gangseop-ji, that Zack is able to transform. Under his guidance, Zack reinvents himself, emerging with newfound confidence and self-belief that finally allows him to compete on equal footing with his peers. He is currently a key member of Allied, a group of friends gathered by Daniel Park in order to fight against the workers. He initially joins to rescue Johan, but even after doing so, he continues to aid Allied in their fight against Charles Choi. Now onto his fighting capabilities. Zack is mainly recognized for his incredible speed. His ability to deliver rapid successive strikes before his opponent can react, coupled with his agility to dodge incoming attacks, makes him a fierce fighter. Then after undergoing rigorous training, his speed soared to new heights. We learn that his training involved him running around with 2 large Buddha statues chained to his ankles, each weighing hundreds of pounds. However, it's thanks to this intense training regimen that Zack has pushed himself beyond normal human limits. Established as a child prodigy, Zack takes immense pride in his boxing skills. His innate speed led him to naturally adopt an outboxer stance, a fighting style that focuses on maintaining distance and using quick footwork to defeat opponents. However, the series of defeats he faced shook his confidence and led him to develop a more unconventional approach known as dirty boxing. This desperate style includes tactics frowned upon in traditional boxing, such as body slams, biting, and even using chains as weapons. During this dark time, Zack also discovered Heat Mode, which is a dangerous state where a fighter uses their deep-seated rage and self-hatred to elevate their physical abilities. In this form, Zack becomes unaffected by pain and his strength increases dramatically, allowing him to push his body to extreme limits. The turning point in Zack's fighting capabilities came with his mentorship under Gangseop Ji, a former first-generation king and master of the iron boxing style. The style focuses on incredible durability and the ability to withstand any blow. Zack achieved this extraordinary resilience through relentless training, such as repeatedly ramming a large log against himself day after day. His newfound toughness was so profound that one opponent described it as if they were hitting a giant bell when striking Zack. Under his master, Zack also learned how to overcome a weakness that most strikers face. Despite boxers typically being vulnerable to grapplers, Zack's quick speed allows him to never be grabbed in the first place. And in the case he was ever caught in a lock or choke, Zack was taught the powerful 1 centimeter punch. This punch enables him to use the full force of his body to deliver a devastating blow even with minimal space. His ultimate technique, however, is the Gangseop Ji counterpunch. This move requires the bravery to face potential death head-on, but it allows Zack to step into an opponent's lethal attack to deliver a counterblow amplified by the opponent's own momentum. Alright guys, and there you have it. This was my video explaining Zack Lee's story. His growth from violent bully to depressed loser to finally enlightened hero makes him one of my favorite characters. Let me know down in the comments which Lookism character you guys want to see next. And if you haven't done so yet, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.